welcome to the Empowerment Effect. Today we're going to be meeting a woman who is making it her mission to inform women of the untold dangers of mammograms. She feels that we are being left in the dark, we are being abused by the very system that is supposed to actually be caring for us. She believes not only are we being abused, but our lives are actually being put at risk. Let me introduce you to the lovely Liz Nigel. Hi Liz, good afternoon, how are you?
Hi Claire, lovely to see you.
Right, Liz, before we get started, you telling us all the information about what you actually do, I'm a little bit intrigued to find out your personal story.
Sure, how I got onto this road. Well, first of all, I suppose I've always been interested in nutrition, and eventually, having gone through the whole corporate world and jobs and all of that, I eventually got into what I loved doing, which was naturopathy, which is like a general practitioner of natural medicine. And it was in this capacity that I was working in a clinic in Ireland, and it was an integrative clinic, so that we had doctors and nurses as well as naturopaths. It was unusual in that it was naturopath-led, whereas a lot of integrated clinics are led by the doctors or the medical team. This was led by naturopaths, and the doctors supported us rather than us supporting them. Well, we supported each other equally, really. But they did a technique called thermal imaging there, which I hadn't come across before. And the nurse said, you know, she would do a thermal scan on me so that I would see how it was done and understand it a bit better. So in that process, she found something suspicious in my left breast. And we also had ultrasound there, so she did an ultrasound and she was still very suspicious. So being medical, she wanted me to go for a mammogram and follow it up that way. But in the meantime, we did blood tests for tumor markers, and she recommended that I go for the mammogram. Okay. So obviously the blood test didn't come back straight away. I think it took a few days. And in the meanwhile, I'm going through in my head, you know, all the fear, basically all the fear. It's like, oh, God, what am I going to do? You know, I don't want to lose my little breast. I don't want to lose my hair. I don't want to be sick as a dog. I don't want to be a victim. I don't want to be a victim of a disease. And all of that fear. And I didn't tell anyone because I didn't tell anyone at home because I wanted to know in my head what I wanted to do. I wanted to have a clearer picture in my head about what I was going to do about this if the tumor markers came back positive.
That must have been very lonely.
It was a little bit scary and a little bit lonely, but I didn't want anybody else's fear interfering with my thought processes. I had enough of my own fear. I didn't want anybody else's to interfere with that. Anyway, I think that I went through a kind of a day and a night of and suddenly it hit me that all the things I was afraid of, losing my breast, my hair falling out, being sick, being a victim, was all associated with the conventional treatments. Nothing to do with the disease. I wasn't afraid of the disease. I was afraid of the treatments. And I thought, I am a naturopath. I know women who have cured themselves or healed themselves or turned this around. And I have enough information and enough supports around me to help me get, fix this, to help me do this. I know what to do. I know what I've been doing wrong, and I know what to do. So once I knew, then there was no choices involved. And the fear just fell away, because I had a path that I was going to follow. And so nothing could interfere with that. So then I was able to tell my family and friends, this is, I still kept it small. I still kept it very small. Because again, most people would say, oh gosh, are you sure? And I didn't want anybody else's doubts coming into my thought process either. So anyway, I went my own route. I changed my diet. I started exercising, which was the one thing I hadn't been doing. And I always say to people, you always know when you, what's the one thing that you resist the most? What's the one thing you don't want to do? Well, that's the thing you have to do. So get off the couch and move was my thing. Because my diet was pretty good already, so it wasn't, I fixed it up a little. I was a little bit more strict, but moving was the thing for me, and a few extra supplements and a few bits and pieces. So got the repeat scan in 3 months' time, and everything had calmed down, scare over, alarms gone. 3 months, all gone.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but that's the great thing about thermography. It picks up something long before it's ever a calcified tumor or lump. It's just an anomaly in the tissue. It's, every cancer starts with one rogue cell. So, and it depends on the doubling time. It depends on your age, how fast that's going to grow. It depends on the type of cancer it is, how fast that's going to grow. But on average, normal cancers, the doubling time, I have the figures, which I can't remember off the top of my head, but it can take up 6, 8, 10 years for that to ever become big enough for a mammogram to even notice.
And it will pick it up with the thermal imaging.
Pick it up with the thermal imaging, because it's not, it doesn't, the thermography is looking at physiology. So we're looking at a heat process, or we're looking at something that's doubling, that's active in the body that shouldn't be. But it's not necessarily a tumor at that point. It's so small and it's so new that I could reverse it. I'd say I reversed it in 4 weeks, never mind 3 months. But you do the repeat scan in 3 months, and it had all gone by that stage.
So it's a fantastic preventative tool then.
It's a amazing preventative tool. It's not a standalone diagnostic tool. As I said, I had the thermal imaging and then ultrasound and then blood tests. But, what I'd normally say to people is get the thermal scan done if anything suspicious shows up. You can get the ultrasound if it's something quite large, or just wait. Well, not wait, but do my breast health program for the 3-month period. Get the repeat scan done, and see how you are then. If there's still something showing, then go for further testing. But it's still way early. It's talk about catching it early. It's really early.
So why is this not being used? Why is this? I mean, it's only in the last few months I've heard about it, and I worked in the NHS it's why is it not being out? Why is the information not out there?
Well, because a number of reasons. It's coming, but there's a great documentary film out called The Promise, and it talks about the harms of the mammography breast screening program in the NHS, and it talks about the fact that when the breast screening program came in, it was Margaret Thatcher who brought it in, and it was a political move as much as a health move. The reason they brought it in was based on 2 studies that have since been found to not really hold up. So,
right.
So there's a huge move to move away from mammography, but you know, a huge amount of money has gone in. People have built their whole careers and reputations on this screening program. There's a whole industry around it, and you know, it's hard for people to see or to even look at the fact that maybe it was all wrong. Maybe they've based their whole life, their whole career, their whole reputation on incorrect information. And it's actually done more harm than good. And you know, also if they turn around and say, you know what, it's doing more harm than good, they're leaving themselves open to lawsuits.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say, I don't know whether you will agree with me, but I think it's fair to say that these professors, professionals, the whole system, it's not done out of malice. It's done out of lack of education and, you know, using the resources that is available. I mean, if you look through history, especially when it comes to things with health, it evolves all the time. But, you know, when you're talking about free health, which is what the NHS is, theoretically, it lags. It
lags for another reason as well, though, which is there's something in the British Constitution. I don't think it's in any other country's constitution, but there's something written in there about you're not allowed to question the standard, the use of X-ray in medical things. So it's stuck there. You're not allowed. Like you will be crossed off if you're a doctor and you question it. You know, you'll be ridiculed. You'll be put out. So it's against the law to actually propose that it's wrong.
I didn't know that existed. I really didn't know that existed. I mean, that is just
there's a little piece about it in the in that film, The Promise.
The Promise.
Yeah, there's a little piece about that, and so it's hindering.
So even if doctors have this information, they're
duty bound to still recommend the standard treatment. It's called the gold standard. They're duty bound to recommend that because they're not allowed to recommend anything else. Lord Saatchi, whose wife died of cervical cancer, I think, or cancer of the womb maybe, he is heading up some sort of a thing to change that, to get it out, to allow the medical profession to move on to other technologies.
Yeah. So now I can understand why you're making it such a mission to get it out there. I mean, obviously, it's you know, I'm all for choice. I'm all for, you know, self-empowerment, because I do think, especially with health, there is a lot of fear-based decisions made because people don't have the knowledge. But yeah, you know, now I can understand why you personally, obviously not, I mean, I didn't have a clue that piece of, you know, legislation existed. So
yeah.
I mean, that just makes getting the information out there even harder. And for those that have it, they can't use it anyway if they are in
if they're in a medical condition, if they want to stay there. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's just shocking.
It's so shocking. But that, I mean, that's bad enough. But the fact that the studies, okay, so mammography uses radiation. It's X-ray, X-radiation. People don't even think of X-ray as being radiation anymore. And certainly when you say the word mammography, it doesn't use, the word radiation isn't in there at all. So people are not even aware sometimes that they're putting radiation into their body. And you know, people go along and say, if they are aware, they'll say, oh, is this safe? You know, should I be getting all this radiation? And they'll be told, oh, yes, it's very safe. It's a tiny amount.
But we go around with big lead jackets on.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't see any men putting their testicles between those two clamps either. So the radiation that you get from a mammogram is somewhere between, the experts are disagree, somewhere between 40 and 80 chest x-rays. Now, chest x-ray exposure has been reduced hugely over the years, and it is a tiny amount, but that's 40 or 80, depending on which expert you talk to, chest x-rays every time you get a mammogram. And they're bringing people in every 2 years from the age, sometimes below 50. I think they're reducing the age now, but well, say from 50 to 70, that's 20 years of chest x-rays, 40 or 80 chest x-rays every 2 years.
I'm going to interject there because in Spain it's 45.
45. And they're, you know, mammogram can't see through dense breast tissue. So that's why it was only introduced for people who were post-menopause initially. And then they said, oh, well, we'll just cut it off at 50 because you might be before or after. But I mean, an awful lot of people are still pre-menopause at 50 to 54, 55 maybe. And yes, okay, some are post-menopause at 45, but that's unusual. But some people have dense breast tissue all their lives, and mammogram cannot see through it, and yet they're still squishing those breasts and irradiating them every 2 years. And not only that, if they find something suspicious, sometimes they'll call you back for a second, so that's another dose you get. So, I mean, even if you never had breast cancer, all of that radiation could give you breast cancer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And especially if you have, you know, genetic or a predisposition of some sort, then why would you put radiation into the tissue that's already at risk? It boggles my mind. There's no logic to it. I don't see the logic to it. And I see this as a feminist issue now.
Well, I have to say, you have shocked me saying, you know, it's 40 to 80 chest x-rays worth of radiation. I mean, that is just a phenomenally huge number.
That's each mammogram. That's not over a lifetime. That's each mammogram.
Yeah. That's just, I mean, I have to say that, you know, my mind here is kind of woo. Tell us what we can do. What can we do about this?
Well, stop going. It's voluntary, you know. The doctor, Dr. Baum, who was asked by Margaret Thatcher's government to bring in the whole mammogram screening program, and he was honored at the time. But he left the committee because he suggested at a meeting, he suggested that they at least give women all of the information and tell them that all about the ionizing radiation and how harmful it is, but also tell them that for every one woman who is saved, I suppose, 10 women are over-treated. 10 women who didn't have cancer are treated as if they have cancer. Not just told they had cancer, they're actually treated. And some of those women will die of the treatment, and they never had cancer in the first place. Dr. Baum at the committee meeting said, at least we have to tell women, you know, the dangers. We have to explain it all out and let them choose. And he was told, well, no, Dr. Baum, we can't do that, because if we give women the choice, they'll choose not to have it. And then we won't meet our targets. Then we won't meet our targets. So he stood up and he left. He said it's a crying shame how women are being told by their doctors or by these people, they're there now. We, you know, don't worry your pretty little head about it. We know what's best for you. Don't question it. We know, you know, we know what's best. And like, nobody knows what's best except us, except ourselves.
It's individual. I mean, when you were saying that, then the whole oh, I've forgotten her name, Angelina Jolie issue kind of came into my head, and the drastic decision she made. And for anybody out there that's her fan, don't send me hate mail. She, you know, she has the right to make.
I love her.
I love her. I love her too.
I could not believe that she did that. But what I can't believe really is that any doctor who suggested it and went ahead with it, how they're not written off. How come he's still practicing as a doctor? That was an insane thing to do. It doesn't matter if she was genetically, you know, the most genetically perfect person to get breast cancer. You can turn off genes. It's been proven. You can switch your genes around. The other thing is, if you're going to get breast cancer and you haven't got breasts, where is that cancer going to go? You know, you can't have a healthy body and unhealthy breasts. It doesn't work like that. You're either healthy or you're not. You can't be both. You can't be healthy and unhealthy at the same time. You know. So if the breasts aren't there, which is relatively harmless place to get a tumor, and that's why the body puts them there. It's because it's not near a vital organ. It's, you know, it's not near your brain. It's not on your spine. It's not near the nerves. They encapsulate, the body just shoves these little rogue cells off into a little suitcase and packs it away in the attic of your breast. And there, you know, it can happily grow away, you know, probably for the rest of your life, and you'll die of something else.
Yeah.
Most unlikely to die of a slow growing tumor. And then there's the whole thing about DCIS, ductal carcinoma in situ. Oh God! I mean, are you sitting down, Claire? Because this is just mind-blowing. Ductal carcinoma in situ, no matter what expert you speak to, they will tell you it is a pre-cancerous condition. But even that phrase assumes that it will become cancerous. So that's not even an accurate description of it. Sometimes now they call it 0-stage cancer.
Right.
So I'll just let that sink in for a second. 0 stage cancer.
It's just scaremongering.
It's not cancer. So you're sitting across from a doctor and he tells you you've got 0 stage cancer, you've got DCIS, ductal carcinoma in situ. All you hear is cancer, cancer, cancer. You don't hear 0 stage. If you do, you're kind of going, well, what does that mean? You know, oh, well, it's a pre-cancerous condition. That's assuming that you're not going to change anything, change your diet, change your nutrition, change your exercise levels, change your stress levels. You do any of those things, you can change the outcome. Sorry, I'm on my soapbox here, but
no, it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. I mean,
so I personally can tell you that 9 out of every 10 women who come to me, or of my friends or anybody, has been told they have ductal carcinoma in situ. And they're the ones, and they're going and they're having the, not the people who come to me, but people that I know have had mastectomies. And because that's the thing with DCIS, it's not just a neat tumor or a lump, because it isn't a tumor, because it isn't freaking cancer. So it's dotted all over the breast. So they lob off the whole breast. It's a complete mastectomy. And so they're having that, and then they're getting radiation, and then maybe chemo. So they're being treated as if they are full-blown cancer.
For 0.
For 0 stage cancer.
And in this world, I'm not mistaken that 0 means nothing?
It is not cancer.
I'm dumbfounded.
Yeah.
And women are actually making these choices?
No, women are not making these choices, not informed choices. They're not informed. I'm trying to inform people so that they have this information. Then they can make a choice. Then whatever choice suits you. But they don't know that DCIS isn't cancer.
They're just told it's DCIS.
Know that that's a situation that at best is a 50-50 chance of it ever becoming cancer, or at worst, whatever. But they haven't been able to find one single study that says DCIS is likely to ever develop into cancer in a woman's lifetime. She's much more likely to die of something else.
I'll be honest, I'm a little bit lost for words here, because I just can't get my head around that a 0, which means nothing in the whole world wide, is a diagnosis in the first place.
Well, the only reason it's a diagnosis, the only reason it's a condition, is because of the mammography, because mammography picks up on these little spots and doesn't know what, and it's a radiographer's
interpretation.
It wouldn't exist if they didn't have X-ray, if they didn't. People are walking along the street, no symptoms, nothing wrong with them, and they're being called in for a mammogram, and they're being told they have DCIS, which isn't actually a disease or anything, and then they're getting treated like cancer patients. I mean, even if they weren't getting radiation, which is cancer causing and can increase your risk of bone cancer and heart disease, and chemotherapy, which can increase your risk of dying, and radiation, which can increase your risk of dying, even if they weren't getting all of those treatments, just sitting across from a man in a white coat or a woman in a white coat and being told you have cancer will kill you, or can kill you.
Yeah. It's the law of thought.
Yeah.
Our thoughts to become things. If somebody plants that in there and you go with it, then
if nothing else, you become a cancer victim. That becomes your whole focus of your life, is not having cancer, not getting cancer.
Unbelievable.
And the word not, you know, doesn't, if you keep saying, oh, cancer, 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 you'll probably get it, even if you put the word not in front of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting. It's an interesting topic for me. One, because of my background, obviously, but two, because I have family history on my maternal side, and I did have some problems not long after Georgina was born, and I did go down the route of, it was when the whole being genetically tested was coming out, and it was, you know, you had to meet a certain criteria, and because of family history, I met that criteria. So I was actually offered the whole genetic testing program. But I actually, what was interesting, and I don't know why I did it, but I made the decision, I think because Georgina was little and because I didn't want to have to make a decision. Now, for some people they would say, oh, that was completely irresponsible, but I felt right that I didn't want to have to make a decision. So I actually refused the program. And I have to say, they kind of chased me for about 6 months.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, actually, you know, I've decided that I don't want to go down this path. I don't want to have to make that decision. And it was the right choice for me. It's not the right choice for everybody. But I think that's what you're saying here. It's information, and then make your decision, informed decisions.
Yeah, yeah.
So tell us about the program.
Okay. Yeah. Basically, the outline of it is that you come for a thermal scan, normally a full body, or very least a half a body, because that gives us more information about what's actually going on in the whole body. Because as I say, I tell people that to think of their breasts like canaries in the mine. You know, I used to bring the canary down the mine, because if it collapsed from the gas, they'd know to get up. So if there's something going on in your breasts, then that is an indication that there's something deeper in the body that's not right. Okay, so it's not just about your breast.
Let's ask you there, is it just for the breast?
No. Thermal imaging, we scan the whole body for everything that's going on physiologically. It's the only physiological test, and physiology is basically all the mechanisms that are going on in the body. It's anything that's not structural. So it's not the bones, it's not the skeleton. It's the blood supply, it's the nerve supply. That's what we're looking at. Basically. Right. So you're just like getting your photograph taken. It's just like getting a photograph taken.
Okay, so you're, sorry, I'm just trying to get it straight in my head. So if I'm trying to get it straight in my head, I'm just thinking the viewers are going to be wanting to get it straight in their head.
I'll see if I can come up with a picture for you, but you keep talking, yeah?
Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking that, you know, if you've got this program that you use for the breast, this program can be transferred to the whole body then, because I'm kind of taking from this, you do the imaging, you see if there's any hot spots, as it were, and then obviously you make a plan to change your lifestyle and your diet.
Yeah.
Have I got that right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So then you can incorporate that to, you know, whatever field really within the body. So if you had a full body scan as a kind of, I'm just kind of thinking aloud, if you had a full body scan as kind of a yearly maintenance checkup.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's, sorry, I was looking for a photograph there, but I'm getting distracted from talking to you.
Okay, no problem.
Yes, it's about health maintenance for sure. You know, it's not about, it's also very good for picking up something if you find a lump, or if you have a pain in your breast, or you're very concerned, or you have a family history. I had a family of 5 sisters come to me because one of their sixth sister, it's an Irish family obviously, the sixth sister had been diagnosed with breast cancer, and the 5 others decided that they would all come and get their breasts checked, and they didn't want to go the mammogram route, so they all came for thermograms because, you know, they were all told they were at risk. I think an aunt had it and a grandmother as well, so we had a family history. So, you know, it's perfect. It's, you know, the other thing is that if you're starting a family, you know, you're in your mid-30s, 40s these days, that's when you start to think about your mortality, and, you know, you want to be around for your kids and all of that. And a lot of people are thinking, well, I have to wait till I'm 50 to get a mammogram, or 45 here. But, you know, you can come along and get your thermography and check out your health, and just get that done. And then every year, or if you have a concern, you can come, because we keep the records for 7 years. So this year's scans will be compared with last year, so we can see if there's any increase or any change over time. So immediately that just takes all the fear away. You know, you're not sticking your head in the sand hoping for the best. You're being proactive, but you're not damaging yourself. You can have as many thermographs as you want. You can have thousands of them, and there is no toxicity to it. There's no harm. No harm whatsoever. And you know, the whole Hippocrates, godfather of medicine thing, was first do no harm. First do no harm. The first thing you do, you know, to test for something is you rule out all the serious things. You use tools that won't cause any harm. And it seems to me that the medical profession, first of all, are using an awful lot of X-ray where you know, it isn't required. Sometimes it's required. Sometimes it is, you know, I mean, then there's nothing else will do. But, you know, they seem to be going in for, you know, we'll come in and we'll do surgery instead of, you know, losing a bit of weight or changing your lifestyle or something. You know, it's surgery first.
But I kind of think that's a lot to do with our society today, though. It's the quick fix route rather than taking personal responsibility.
Yeah, but it is definitely. But I think that the pharmaceutical industry has led that because, you know, and again, they're not evil. It's just that they're a capitalist corporation. You know, they're in business. They make products to sell, you know, and that's fine. But what we need is a government and a health board, health bodies to protect us from the marketing. But they don't. They're all seem to be in cahoots together.
But in reality, that's never going to happen, is it? I mean, I don't want to appear negative, but I think at this stage of where we are in our society, we are better placed taking responsibility for ourselves rather than waiting for.
Oh yes, but we're the people who vote the governments in, is what I'm saying. We are the government.
Yeah.
We are the government. So we need to make that very clear and take the lobbying away from the pharmaceutical industry. They've got too much power, and they are molding society and getting us thinking, sure, you know, there's a pill for this, there's a pill for that, there's a quick fix for everything, and there isn't. So where was I? What? Forgotten my thread.
Yeah, we were saying, you were talking about the program. Sorry, it was myself. I interrupted you because I was absolutely fascinated with the fact that you can actually use this as a a preventative measure. You can actually do this. I'm just, you know, in France, I know they have a system, especially if you've got private health insurance, where once a year you go and have, you know,
Yeah.
a full set of bloods and this. I'm just thinking, you know, instead of having full bloods, and I've never seen the point. Yeah, okay, blood tests can show up certain things, but I mean, it doesn't, it can't tell you everything. It's,
no one test can tell you everything,
no.
but I think if you do the thermography, that can tell us whether your thyroid is functioning okay, if you've got cardiopulmonary issues, the heart, the lungs. It can show up the liver if it's inflamed. It might show kidney problems or spleen, maybe digestive issues. It's not really good for prostate or ovaries. They're a little bit deep and a little bit too hot anyway, those areas of the body, that area of the body is too hot to see through, basically. But we can also see musculoskeletal issues, nerve, peripheral neuropathy for diabetics, for instance. We can see if somebody doesn't have circulation to their fingers or toes, then we would start looking at diabetes and those things. You know, we would test for that beyond. We can see knee damage or ankles or you know, hairline fractures that don't show up in anything else, or maybe need to be shown up. But we can see all of that and then send on for further testing if required. We can also see varicosities, varicose veins in the legs and that sort of thing. Sinus congestion, lymphatic congestion. We can see all of these things, which, you know, are just the very basis of health. You know, they're just the very basic things that are going on to check if our body is ticking over. You know, it's like bringing, I swear people spend much more time and money keeping their cars serviced and making sure they're ticking over. And I mean, if you hear something funny in your engine, you'll be down at the mechanic. Whereas, you know, because you know that car, you need it to get to work, you don't want it to let you down, you don't want the thing to go on so far that it's going to cost you more money. Why don't we think of our bodies like our cars? They are just our vehicle for getting around.
It never surprises me that people, I think it's because we just take it for granted. I think that's the thing. It's just with us all the time, and it's like anything that's with you all the time. If you're not careful, then you're not grateful, and you just use.
We haven't had to pay out for it and buy it, but still, we should be servicing it every year, and you know, at least get a full checkup every year, make sure that it's going, and the oil and the nutritions are topped up, and all of that. Yeah.
So apart from being able to kind of see all the things that are wrong,
okay, then I have treatments. We're getting there. Things like diet, nutrition, and just simple exercises, things that you can do using hydrotherapy. Sounds very elaborate, but it's just hot and cold water, really. But these things can help, and breathing exercises, oxygenation, increased circulation, increased nutrition, increased exercise. Those are the things that we can do to help just change the pH, change the terrain. And I also do a treatment called biomagnetic pair therapy, which is relatively new. It's only been around 25, 30 years, developed by a Dr. Goes in Duran Goes in Mexico. Well, he's based in the States and Mexico. But it's a very simple, non-invasive, again, non-toxic very effective therapy. And the most important thing is it's really relaxing. You just lie there and doze off while you're being treated. But it balances the pH as well as chemicals in the body. So it's very good at balancing hormones and really the pH. And when the pH is in a neutral, within the neutral boundary, no pathogens, no disease-causing bacteria or virus can exist once you have the body at its right pH. And people are, you know, pH is very, it's like a fashionable word now, but or phrase, but you can be as alkaline as you like in your diet, which is great, but it won't really switch the balance. You'd have, you know, you really, the only thing that I know that can really switch the balance is the magnets. It's to do with polarity, it's to do with our north and south pole, gravity, the amount of stress that we're under puts our polarity out of balance, and we have to bring our polarity back into balance to balance the pH. The pH is the thing we focus on, but it's only a symptom. You know, if the pH is out of balance, what's putting it out of balance? That's what we have to look at, you know. But the main thing is that once we do balance that pH, then we're reducing the pathogenic load on the body, so that the body is disease-free. And then everything can work harmoniously, and the body is able then to cure itself and heal itself, because the immune system does what it's meant to do, and it's not being distracted.
Yeah, I think that's really getting back to the pharmaceutical companies and all the propaganda and the whole environment in which we kind of all grown up in. It's forgotten that actually we have the power within us. We are the most phenomenally intelligent piece of machinery.
Yeah.
And have the ability to heal ourselves with a little bit of adjustment and a little bit of help.
Given the right environment, the body can heal itself. Not forever. We do die.
Yes.
We die.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. And it might sound strange, but I do try to take people's fear of dying away as well. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, just as there's more to health than not having cancer, there is more to life and living than just staying alive. It's not about longevity, it is about quality.
It's quality, yeah.
And enjoying the life that we have, and being useful and purposeful, and just doing what we're meant to be doing here, which is doing what we love and connecting with people. And whether we do that for, 120 years or for 50 years, the important thing is that we're as happy and healthy as we can be for that length of time.
That length of time, yeah. All right. Absolutely, absolutely fascinating. Is there anything else that you would like us to know, or?
Well, if anybody's interested in getting some more information, my website's being fixed at the moment. So I have a Facebook page that is open to the public. You don't have to be on Facebook to see it. It's called liznagleND, N for November, D for December. And you can have a look there, and it talks, well, it's just anything that crops into my head that I think is relative to health. For the biomagnetics, there's another Facebook page and a website called advancedmagnetics.com.
Right.
Advancedmagnetics.com.
And for you viewers, don't worry, I will actually be posting those.
Okay,
so great. You can actually click through.
And I work in Javia in Costa Blanca in Spain, which is fabulous paradise. So you're very welcome to come for treatments here. And I also work in Dublin, so you can give me a shout, and I travel over and back to Dublin quite regularly as well.
Right. Oh, you go quite regularly. So people from England, for example, if they, you know, are looking for this kind of treatment, they can get hold of you, and you can inform them when you're next going to be back.
Yeah, or the other thing is they can get a thermography done locally. The company that I work with is called Meditherm, and we have thermographers all over the world, and your records are held centrally. So, you know, I can access your records, and then we can do the program together. I can do consultations on Skype. So we can go through the whole program that way. So, you know, you don't have to, I don't have to do your thermography.
Okay, they can
find somebody locally for you.
For that, do they contact you first?
Yes, probably. But if they've already had a thermograph done, and they want to know more about the breast health program, then just contact me anyway, and we can talk it through.
Well, I have to say, Liz, it has been an absolute pleasure and super informative. You've kind of blown me away on a few things again there.
Sorry about that. But
so, you know, thank you very much.